Is Doey really alive? After all, it's essentially an invulnerable entity. Could the doctor, who was literally the main brain of the company, have died so easily? After all, Huggy Wuggy survived without any special abilities. Here, we'll look at characters who, for some reason, survived, even though it seemed like they should have perished. Let's start with Huggy Wuggy. Why did he survive? It's officially confirmed that our Huggy Wuggy survived after falling from such a great height, meaning the monster is practically invincible. We can see the injuries on his body from the fall, including the loss of an arm. But how is it that we encounter him at the end of Chapter 4? If we closely examine his wounds, we can conclude that he didn't just survive on his own. Someone must have patched him up. He's become battered and very angry. His left arm is wrapped in a bow, probably to prevent excessive blood loss, which would have killed him. This means someone saved him. But who? That's still a mystery. Maybe it's a prototype that gathers more bodies for itself to make them a part of it. The fact that the monster is still alive doesn't bother it much. So, Huggy Wuggy might have been healed by someone else. He couldn't have done it himself, given he has only one hand. But the fact remains, he's alive, and that's confirmed. The next character that could be alive is Pianosaurus. Not the same Pianosaurus that was eaten, but the one that didn't get much screen time. It was shown online as Mr. 6 Seconds. However, it's very possible that Pianosaurus is still alive. Fans could have gotten too upset, and maybe the developers listened to their feedback and decided to bring Pianosaurus back. It could turn out that there are actually several of them, and they form a big mascot. Other large monsters could have their small counterparts too, like Mini Huggy, smiling little creatures, or any other small toy. In any case, there's a possibility that the original Pianosaurus is still alive. Our dear Boxy Boo, some might wonder if he's truly alive or if he's gone for good. After all, we did witness the sight of his lifeless body in the prototype statue, which he made for Catnap, using the corpses of other toys. It was a chilling scene, and it certainly raised the question of whether Boxy Boo had met his end. However, upon closer inspection, that could have been just a clone or a recreation of his form, and the original Boxy Boo might still be out there, lurking in the shadows, potentially wreaking havoc on anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. We haven't received any official confirmation about Boxy Boo's death, which leaves room for speculation. According to the classic rules of horror, when we don't actually see the character's body, there's always the possibility that they're not dead, just temporarily out of sight. This theory doesn't always hold up in every situation, but when it comes to Boxy Boo, the situation could very well be the complete opposite. He could be very much alive and active, just waiting for the right moment to strike again. Arguments supporting the idea that Boxy Boo might still be alive include his disturbing history as a relentless killing machine, engineered to eliminate unwanted employees. His primary function was to serve as a tool of destruction, ridding the world of those who didn't meet the required standard. But even after the hour of joy, a dark, lingering possibility exists that Dr. Harley Sawyer could have repurposed this murderous machine for his own nefarious goals. The prototype, which was designed without any morality or regard for life, would likely have no qualms about cleaning up the remnants of his enemies, especially if he could do so with someone else's hands, literally. What if Boxy Boo's role isn't finished yet? What if he is still in the process of being used for some far darker purpose? This suggests that Boxy Boo may still be in operation, possibly biding his time until he finds his next victim. The fact that he was once a tool of destruction might mean that he is far too valuable to be discarded. He's still needed, and whatever fate lies in store for him, we can probably expect to see him again in the future. I have a strong feeling that we'll encounter Boxy Boo once more, perhaps in the very next chapter, where his terrifying presence might return to shake things up in a whole new way. Now, let's look at Doey. Here's where the rule about not seeing the character's body might not work, because Doey is actually an invulnerable monster, made from a rather interesting substance that allows him to pass through even the tiniest of cracks. He's invincible, but we found his weak spot. It's ice. If you freeze Doey, you can kill him, and as practice has shown, despite being made of dough and clay, he still feels pain. But doesn't he need to be completely destroyed, torn into different pieces, and then eliminated as well? Here, we just left his body lying there, knowing that inside, he's frozen. Still, there's a small chance that the developers created an invincible character, so it's quite possible that even while lying under that huge thing, he could gather himself. However, there are also arguments against this. Doey had a very interesting story about his death in Chapter 4. It makes sense that such a powerful character could die in such a simple way, given that his storyline reached its end. So I'll put a question mark here and wait for the entire story of Poppy Playtime to finish so we can know for sure if Doey is alive or not. You can leave your opinion in the comments. An equally silly death was that of Sawyer. Many people started complaining in the comments, how could such a brilliant villain die like that? The genius of the Doctor doesn't just lie in the fact that all of this happened because of him. He created the monsters, and he surely created some technologies too, because, after all, he knows his way around tech, as we see in Chapter 4. He's also brilliant in the way he can escape from any critical situation unscathed. If he had just a little more time, he would have tricked the prototype and gained access to its laboratory, seemingly to finish the experiment that the prototype actually needed. However, the prototype didn't believe the Doctor's words, and in the end, the Doctor managed to avoid the fate of the other employees. For all those years after, he managed to fool the prototype into thinking he was needed. How did he do that? Being just a brain in a jar. But surely the prototype also had weaknesses, and that's exactly what our genius brain took advantage of. So we simply remove the cartridge and get rid of the Doctor. The question that lingers is, was Boxy Boo really defeated so easily? It's this very death that's caused many players and fans to doubt whether the Doctor is truly gone for good. And honestly, there are several compelling reasons for that. Killing off such an intriguing character so quickly seems almost like a missed opportunity. It just doesn't add up. I have a theory. What if, in the event of his demise, the Doctor had prepared a backup plan? What if he set up an extra body somewhere, perhaps as a vessel to transfer his consciousness into when the time came? In that case, even if the prototype believed the Doctor was dead, he could have secretly escaped. If this is true, then the Doctor is even more brilliant than I first thought. Of course, this is just a hypothetical scenario, a product of my imagination, but who knows? In the world of this twisted story, anything is possible. Let's shift our focus to Olly now. Olly, as we know, is a prototype, as the prototype itself confirmed. He was once a living being, and it's possible that he was the one the doll Poppy was initially communicating with. But then the connection was intercepted by the prototype, which makes things a lot murkier. We still don't know much about Olly, whether he was a surviving orphan or if he's still a distinct monster of some kind. Personally, I lean toward the latter theory. It's hard to imagine that an orphan could have survived in that environment for so long, and even if he did manage to survive, I doubt he would still have such a childlike voice. After all, orphans don't stay children forever. 10 years would pass, and they'd surely grow into something else entirely. And then, of course, there's our beloved Kissy Missy. It's almost certain she's still alive, and here's why. The classic horror rule that we didn't see her body, so she must still be out there. How could we have seen her if she stayed upstairs hidden from sight? So, for now, we don't need to worry about Kissy Missy. She's alive, and that's one less thing to stress over in this world full of questions and mysteries.